The time has come to review a new book adaptation franchise, and this first film is not a diary, it's a movie. Hey everyone, Lucimus Prime here. So it's time for a brand new movie review today, and in today's video I'm going to be kicking off a new franchise which is based on the books of the same name by the author Jeff Kinney. And this first film which I'm going to be reviewing is of course a live action adaptation of the first book, which of course is 2010's Diary of a Wimpy Kid, directed by Thor Freudenthal. So, now, how was this film made? So this film, of course, was based on the book of the same name by Jeff Kinney, which he, of course, released in 2007, and of course, was made by 20th Century Fox, and Thor Freudenthal was set to direct, and the cast was also confirmed as well, with, of course, Zachary Gordon being cast to play the lead of the film, based on a book, of course, which is Greg Heffley. And filming also took place in Canada as well. So when it comes as well to, of course, how this film did, it was released theatrically in the United States on March 19, 2010, and grossed $75.7 million worldwide against a $15 million budget, and with many positive reviews from critics. When it comes to my reaction to this film, guys, so I first saw this film, I think it was several years ago now, I think, back in like the 2010s, I think. Because I at the time didn't see this at the cinema because I wasn't really interested at the time, but I decided to get into it one day because it looked pretty good from clips I saw of it on the internet. So I thought, I'll give it a watch on TV. So I gave it a watch on television, and I had a really fun time watching it. I think it was a really fun movie, and definitely, like, in my opinion, a great start to this book adaptation franchise. Definitely a lot of fun. So what is the movie about? So, middle school is not an enjoyable experience for preteen Greg Heffley, who is played by Zachary Gordon, but a horrid ordeal of social landmines that he must bear. To do so, he devises schemes to win him the recognition and status he feels he deserves, all of which fail miserably. Greg chronicles his misadventures, thoughts and opinions in a diary to prepare for a day that he will no longer have to put up with nonsense. So what do I think is great about this film then? So this film has a really great cast of actors. So for example, of course, the main character of this film, of course, is Greg Heffley, and I think Zachary Gordon gave a really amazing performance as Greg and did a really great job making him a very likeable and also, I might say as well, relatable character as well. And I think he gave a great performance in this film and the other two films he returned for as well. I think he did a really great job playing Greg. And I also, as well, definitely really love the casting as well of Devon Bostick as Greg's brother, Roderick. I think he was most definitely a perfect casting for a role because he was so funny, and if you guys are also wondering, he's also my favourite character in the franchise because of how funny he is as well. And he was definitely a lot of fun to watch in this because of the way, of course, he bullies Greg at times and pulls pranks on him. The film even, of course, starts with him pranking Greg into thinking he's late for school when really it's 4 in the morning, and school isn't even starting until the following week. So, yeah, that was just hilarious. Just how you do a comedy in a film like that. Just brilliant. And I also definitely love the casting as well of Greg's parents, of course, Susan and Frank, played by Rachel Harris and Steve Zahn. They were both really funny too, I might say, as well, and especially Frank. Frank is also, in my opinion, hilarious. Steve Zahn just nailed his comedy right there. And I think Rachel Harris also did a great job making Susan a likeable mother character as well at times too. Especially in the scene where she encourages Greg to tell Riley the truth about a safety patrol incident. That's definitely my favourite scene with Susan in the film, because I love how she encouraged Greg to tell the truth and do the right thing. And speaking, of course, of the incident, let's also as well talk about Greg's best friend, Rowley Jefferson, who's played by Robert Capron. Robert Capron was also, in my opinion, a perfect casting for Rowley, and I think he, like the other main cast members in this, he totally embodied who Rowley is as a character, in my opinion. And I think he just did a phenomenal job playing him and brought him to life. And there's also some good spawn characters as well in this. So one character who is not in my books, who I didn't really like the addition of, but still was likeable at least, was probably Angie, who's played by Chloe Grace Moretz. Even though she's not in my book, which this film is based on, I think that Chloe Grace Moretz did a good job playing Angie, in my opinion. Gave a good performance as her. But yeah, it was a bit annoying though how she wasn't based on a book character really, just a brand new character really. I was hoping she'd probably be playing an already existing character maybe, but sadly not. And when it comes to other supporting characters as well, there's other students as well at Greg and Riley's middle school as well. So for example, one character who I think is pretty weird but still funny at the same time is probably Fregley, who's played by Grayson Russell. I think he did a very good job playing Fregley in this. And definitely as well, in my opinion, embodied the character he is in the books as well. And also as well, I did also have the casting of Karan Brat as Chirag Gupta as well, another friend of Greg's as well. He was also, in my opinion, entertaining as well, and I think he also did a great job embodying who Chirag is from the books as well. And I did also as well love the casting as well of Liam McNeil as Patty Farrell, who of course is Greg's arch enemy, who apparently has beaten him up before and is threatening to do it again. And it all started, of course, when Greg sang a pretty mean song to her when we were both younger. So yeah, but I still think Liam McNeil was a good casting for her, even though she's a pretty unlikable character. But then again, the book character is also a bully and unlikable too. So yeah, exactly. So I think Liam McNeil was a perfect casting for Patty, in my opinion. And I did also like the casting as well of Andrew McNee as Coach Malone as well. I think he was a pretty funny gym teacher as well. Even though, of course, in the book, he's not called Coach Malone, he's called Mr. Underwood. But I still think that Andrew McNee was funny as Coach Malone, what he was given, though. I'll definitely say that. And there was lots of other great casting in this as well. Oh, absolutely. The casting did a really great job. And also as well, aside of course from a good cast, I think the story is also great too, because I think he does a really great job faithfully adapting the book while making some differences to make it translate to a movie, which is why of course I still think Chloe Grace Moretz is as good as Angie, even though her character is even in the books. Because I definitely think it did a really great job bringing the books to life. Even though the film has lots of product placement from other things really in it, I still think of course it was able to stay faithful to the books really. And I do also love how it doesn't focus on current trends or current culture really, or anything like or like current memes and stuff like that. I love how it stayed faithful to the books really, because I think it helps make this film have a timeless feel really. And it definitely worked well, because I rewatched the film last night in preparation for this review, and I definitely think it holds up really well. You wouldn't think it's from 2010 because of how good it is really. And I think the plot structure is also done really well too as well. And I also definitely love how the film even uses the pictures from the book as well, because what I love about Jeff Kinney's book is that I think it's a very unique storytelling, because it's actually a book which is done in cartoons, which of course Jeff Kinney did with his books, and because the books of course have cartoons, and I definitely really think that, you know, his drawings were definitely amazing and very iconic. And I love how this film included those cartoon depictions of the characters like that. I think it was brilliant. And you see lots of them in this movie. So that's why I love how it stays faithful by including that. And also as well, I definitely as well really loved as well the musical score. It's composed by Theodore Shapiro, a very good musical score in my opinion. I definitely like the main theme song of the movie. And there's also a pretty huge amount of hilarious moments as well in this. And because when I watch this movie, I laugh a lot when I watch it because it's so funny. I've already talked about the opening scene where Roderick pranks Greg into thinking he's late for school when really it's 4 morning and school isn't starting until the following week. And also as well as that, I did also as well think the scene as well where, of course, Roderick threatens to kill Greg by being in his room, and of course Greg needs the toilet really badly, and he ends up peeing all over Roderick, was also hilarious. Like, while it is a pretty gross scene, don't get me wrong, I still die of laughter watching it because it's just so funny. I just can't resist laughing. And it's definitely just a lot of fun really to this film. I think as well, considering it's also 92 minutes, I think it's very well paced as well, because because when we watched it last night, and I've rewatched it many times in my life, in my opinion, it's not boring. I don't think it is in the slightest, because when I watch it, I personally don't think it's boring. And I think as well, the film also has a great development for Greg, because in this film, just like in the other two films of this trilogy, yeah, of course, and of course the books they're based on, he learns something, and in this film, of course, he learns how to be a better friend to Rowley, and of course, that popularity doesn't mean anything. Because if you've seen the film, you'll be aware, of course, that Greg is wanting to know where he'd be on, like, a popularity ranking alongside other students. But this film, of course, shows that popularity doesn't mean anything. And, of course, he learns how to be a better friend to Rowley. So I definitely really like Greg's development in this movie. I thought it was really good. However, when it comes to bad qualities I do have in this movie, so yes, there are some disgusting scenes, don't get me wrong, but some are still funny. But one particular part of this, also based on a book, which I think is disgusting and is pretty gross, is probably, of course, the cheese touch. Because for those of you who have seen the film and read the book, you'll be aware that in the school playground, there's a piece of cheese lying on the ground which has been there for ages, years, and it's badly decomposed and gone off. And if you touch it, you get, of course, what's the cheese touch, and everyone will run away from you and not interact with you whatsoever. And the only way you can get rid of a cheese touch is if you touch someone else and pass it on to them, so they'll have a cheese touch. And the ending of the film has a pretty disgusting scene, though, but it helps, of course, develop Greg as a character and how to be better friends with Rowley, because there's some bullies in this film who are led by someone called, I think it's called Pete Hosey, I think, and they're also no bad quality job, because I personally found most characters very unlikable, in my opinion. I didn't really like most characters, but... And the reason why is because in their conversation with Greg and Rowley in the playground, they make Rowley eat the cheese. Like, oh god, they make him pick up that gone off cheese, which has been there for ages, and they make him eat it. Like, oh, it makes you want to throw up because how disgusting that is. Oh, it's just gross. Even they wanted to throw up too when they saw him eating it. And I do also feel that their conversation was also anticlimactic, because before they can make Greg eat the cheese, they then get stopped by Coach Malone, who sees them, and then they run away. He even recognises Pete Hosey too. And then we never see them again, so I was hoping they'd have a bit of, like, a defeat or something like that, really, where they get punished for being on school property, like maybe arrested or something like that. But unfortunately, we never saw them again. I don't think they appeared in the sequels, did they? So it would have been probably a lot better if, of course, they gave them some sort of closure, really. So sadly, we never got to see the outcome of how they'd get defeated. They just ran away, really. But that scene, what I do think, is important for Greg's development, because the students all come back outside and they see Rowley, of course, has you know, touched the cheese. Patty at first thinks he's eating it, but then Greg butts in and immediately yells out, "I ate the cheese." And so right there, of course, he showed just how to be selfless, and he defended his best friend. And then, of course, they made up. So right there, that was a happy ending for Greg and Rowley right there. And it was definitely really great to see, and because I don't think they had great development in this movie, and Rowley as well was definitely a great character as well, and very funny as well, I might say, especially, of course, with his comic strip he wrote called Zooey Mama, which is pretty cool, and just really, and he definitely had a very good mind when it comes to writing those comics. Really did a great job with it in those cartoons, pretty funny too, I must say, and so yeah, I definitely really love Greg and Rowley's friendship, how it developed in this, how they, of course, have a falling out, but then, of course, they develop, and Greg is selfless, and he shows that popularity doesn't mean anything. So that was really good for him, really. And yeah, this film is definitely a lot of fun, in my opinion. Definitely, in my opinion, a very underrated book adaptation that I think deserves more love. And it, of course, as well spawned the two sequels, of course, with his cast of characters, and they're definitely really great. The only Wimpy Kid film that I've seen which I absolutely despise is, of course, as I call it, The Wrong Hall, where they, of course, had a recast of the characters, and in my opinion is an absolute joke to the franchise, just absolute trash in my opinion, which I'll be ranting about later. But I will be posting positive reviews for the two sequels, though, of course, because I love those. With what it will be my personal favourite out of the Wimpy Kid movies. But this film is definitely a fun ride in my opinion, and it also ends with a very nice credit song as well, of course, which is of course the song "What Do You Want From Me," but I think it's called "Forever Sickest Kids," which is a great song. So all I can say is that this film is definitely a lot of fun, and if I was to give it a score out of 10, because I think it's a very fun, underrated book adaptation, which I think deserves more love, I'd probably give it a very decent score of 7 out of 10. Only because of those bad qualities, such as, of course, like the addition of Andrew, who's not in the book, and also those unlikable bullies and the cheese touch scene. Oh, God. Just pretty disgusting, really, aren't they? But, nonetheless, the film is a lot of fun. I'd recommend it if you want to see a really fun book adaptation, which is really funny, because I get lots of laughs out of this movie and the 2 sequels, absolutely. So, anyway, guys, long story short, this is me doing my review for 2010's Dive With My Kid, directed by Fort Freudenthal, based on the book of Sin by Jeff Kinney. So, you know the drill, guys. Be sure to give this video a like. Also, be sure to tell us in the comments what you guys think of Dive With My Kid. If you've seen it on comments below, what you think. Also, be sure to join Team Prime by pressing subscribe and come in the future. And, Zooey Mama.